I just got back from a little staycation around Oregon. I left both of my big cameras at home and took this out as my sole capturing device for the trip. Today we're going to be covering the overall design, the camera quality, and the user experience of the new iPhone 11 and 11 Pro Max. Let's get into it. Although I would have liked to have seen a more dramatic change in this year's iPhone design, I am happy with the changes that were made. Starting off with the matte finish on the back, I am a huge fan. I think it holds up much better to fingerprints compared to the previous 2 years of iPhone. I think it's just a much nicer, cleaner look. Moving the logo to the center and removing all of the text was also a huge plus. It looks so much cleaner now. And looking at some of the older photos and videos of the older iPhones, it's crazy how much I've adjusted to this new, simpler, cleaner look. Compared to seemingly everyone out there, I really don't have a problem with the 3-camera look. And I think cleaning up and removing this text made a big part of making it work as a whole. And turning it around to the front, you do still have that same notch. I would have loved to have seen a notchless design this year. I'm really hoping for that flat edge like the iPad Pros and for them to remove the notch for next year. Here's to hoping. Overall, the design is a pretty subtle change, but a welcomed one. And moving on to the main event, the new camera system. Compared to last year's 2 cameras, you now have a 3-camera system here, one being an ultra-wide 13mm equivalent, then the normal lens at 26mm, and then you have the telephoto lens, which I believe was 52mm, if my memory serves me right. I personally am a really big fan of that telephoto look. I feel like I'm the only person that I've heard that isn't just all about the wide angles. So that telephoto camera is significantly improved in this year's model. I remember last year, the longer I had tested that telephoto length, the camera quality just wasn't nearly as good as the main lens. I'm happy to report that this year, all 3 lenses are really matched pretty well like they talked about in the keynote. So you're gonna get pretty consistent quality across all 3 lenses, and in my opinion, they're all still very usable in just about any situation. With the new camera system also comes night mode, which has been very impressive to mess around and play around with. Essentially, it just allows you to take long exposure photos with your phone. With the most recent update, I think it was 13.1, they now allow you to change the length of time for the exposure in night mode and to toggle it on and off, which has been a welcomed improvement. They call these Pro phones. Please give us Pro setting options. Something to take note of for night mode though, it is only going to work on the main wide normal camera. So you're not going to be able to get those night mode shots with the ultra wide. That was something that I didn't think was made very clear in the keynote or some of the other videos I've seen. So keep that in mind. That being said, what you're able to do with it is extremely impressive, and I'm sure it's only going to get better and better with time and more software updates. They've also dramatically improved the smart HDR capabilities, which just allows you to capture more dynamic range in video and photo mode. They've really improved that dramatically this year. Like I said, I took this around Oregon. I went to Trillium Lake, I went to the Oregon coast, I went to Mount Hood. Taking this all over the place and taking photos has been really a joy to use. I was happy to leave my big cameras behind and still get some really nice shots from my Instagram feed. I don't think anyone noticed I wasn't using my big camera, which says a lot about the image quality from these. This paired with a budget lavalier setup like I'm using here would really make a perfect entry-level YouTube camera. What you're able to get from this far surpasses what I started on YouTube with, which was the original Canon G7X. The image quality, the dynamic range, the sharpness, you're just able to do so much with this. It would make a perfect starter YouTube camera if you're someone that wants to get into creating videos but doesn't really have a ton of money. That being said, they do call this the iPhone 11 Pro. I don't think the quality is exactly the same in all scenarios compared to a bigger, more professional setup, but in the proper conditions, you are going to get near identical footage. So if you are going to use this, stick to bright daylight. The only real gripe I've had is once you get into lower light, poor lighting situations, it really starts to fall apart like most phone cameras do. It's doing a lot more than you would expect a phone to be able to do, but it's still not going to be able to blend well with some of the bigger camera setups if the lighting quality is less than ideal. Another gripe I wanted to mention, they talked in the keynote about being able to swipe and scroll through the different focal lengths like you're using one zoom lens. Because all the lenses are in different spots, you are going to notice subtle jumps when it switches to different lenses, which I really don't love. But overall, having the 3 cameras and increasing that range has been a welcomed addition to the phone. You really are able to get a lot of coverage. You have your wide, you have your regular, and you have your telephoto. That's kind of videography and photography 101 if you're trying to capture different things. So you have that whole range to work and play with using something like this. So this would make a great entry-level camera for a creator. I could definitely see myself vlogging with just this in the future. But yeah, overall the cameras are really a dramatic shift from the XS Max and anything prior. So I wanted to group everything else into this final category of overall user experience. Starting off with Face ID, it is much snappier now this year compared to the previous 2 years that have implemented it. I didn't really have too much of an issue with the speed before, but it is noticeably faster now compared to the previous years. The battery life on this new phone has been absolutely insane. They claimed that it had an extra 5 hours of battery life. I feel confident in saying that that's probably accurate. On my normal day-to-day usage, I'm a pretty light to medium user. I'm right next to my desk most of the time, so I'm able to trickle and plug in and charge whenever I need to. But I took this out for a week of vacation with really heavy use. The phone was new, I was testing new games, I was testing the cameras, I was away from my desk all day, and I never once got close to draining the battery on this in a single day. Most of the time on a heavy use day, I was still ending with 30 to 40%, which is just blowing my mind. Lighter to medium use, I've been able to go 2 full days without charging, which is just insane. It's safe to say that the battery in these new phones will get you through a full day unless you're the heaviest of users. Covering the display next, although it does look great, I didn't really notice much of a change compared to last year's XS or XS Max. Still looks really nice. They talked about the increased 2:1,000,000 contrast ratio. In normal everyday usage, it looks exactly the same to me. So it looked great before, but it still looks great now, but don't expect any dramatic change over last year's model. Overall, between the improved aesthetics, the better battery life, and the incredible cameras, this has been the most exciting iPhone upgrade in the last several years, and I'm happy to recommend it. Even if you're someone that has the XS or XS Max, this is worth the upgrade. Check it out if you haven't yet, and be sure to let me know down below if you have any comments. I will be doing a What's on My Phone video very soon, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. I know a lot of people have been asking for quite a while, so that'll be coming soon. Thank you all so much for watching though, and have a great rest of your day.